So I'm going to show you how I did a stain and paint technique on the steps in my garage because they needed a makeover because they were just plain contractor grade wood steps that led up from our garage into our house. So the first step is to get them clean and sand down anything that needs to be sanded, and to fill any of the nail holes with wood putty and let that dry and sand. And then we can go with the fun part, which is using our stencil to stain with. I bought a stencil online that I used in another project a while ago, and I used it with paint. And I'm just gonna reuse the same one, but you can order a stencil anywhere. I mean, online, I got mine. Actually, mine was from Dizzy Duck Designs, which is in the UK. I didn't know that when I was ordering it off Etsy. But it is really cute and really durable, and it comes with all the extra pieces to make corners or anything like that. So let's get started. I'm just gonna start with sweeping and do some light sanding. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna do is use this orbital sander. I have 60 grit on here, and I'm gonna knock off like the dirt, and there's some mud from the drywallers that's still on here, and just get a nice smooth surface. And here's the thing, these are garage steps. These are not like super high-end treads and risers that you have to worry about. If you mess it up, it's in your garage. So it's just something to make the steps a little bit cute. And then if you don't like it, you can always repaint over it. So don't stress about this one. So since I'm gonna stain the center portion of the treads and risers, the nail holes that exist, I gotta fill them with something. So you wanna fill them with wood filler, and it says stainable right there. On the edges, I'm gonna use paint, so you can fill those with anything, any kind of caulk or Bondo is one of my favorites, especially if you're gonna try to be painting it like right away. It dries so fast. Bondo smells really, really bad though. And it's kind of a pain because you have to mix the Bondo and the cream hardener together. So anything that you wanna do to fill these holes, let me show you. You know, just where the nail holes are. I'm gonna fill them with the wood filler, and then use a little spatula, scrape it flat. And because these are so deep, these might require 2 coats. I don't know, let's see what happens. So I've smushed it up a little bit. Oh man. This is something I've noticed about wood filler in particular, is that once you open it, sometimes it doesn't like to work again great the next time. You see that there? Now obviously, because there's like 50 million nail holes I gotta fill, if I tried to work this hard to squeeze out every one, oh my word. So more than likely what I'll end up doing is cutting open this tube and good grief. Sorry guys, I can't do this left-handed. On a plate and using it like that. Goodness. But now you get the basic idea. Okay, I finally gave it up and I cut the tube of wood filler and I put it on a plate, okay? So the thing with wood filler is it's a lot drier. Oh, probably can't tell. So it's a lot drier than like normal putty you'll use. And so pretty quickly when you're putting it in, it'll start balling up on you. There's not a whole lot of spreadability to it. But I mean, you gotta use it when you're gonna stain. So I'm gonna try to give you an example here. Okay. A little bit. And I always overfill when I'm doing this stuff, because you gotta come back and sand it either which way, so might as well get it done right the first time. And also when you're putting on putty and that kind of thing, you wanna go, when you're wiping it off, you go opposite of the way you originally put it on. So if you put it on this way, swipe it off that way. That helps you fill all the little nooks and crannies. Okay, to get started, after I cleaned the steps, I marked center on all of the steps. And I guess you don't really need to do that because as you're going down, the stencil has, you know, parts where you line it up with the previous one that you did so that you keep them all in line. But honestly, there could be some margin of error here. And so I want to avoid that. So I went ahead and marked the center on all the steps coming down. And then I'll mark center on the actual stencil. So I kind of laid this out and I used a pencil on one of the steps up here to figure out how many, how many wide. Originally I thought I just wanted to do 2 wide, but I actually am gonna go 3. So I'll center one, do one on each side, and then I'm gonna paint down the side of each step. So I'm gonna do this first. I got this stencil online. I've used it once before, and I think it was called Dizzy Duck Designs is I think the place that I used. I think it was on Etsy. And I like it a lot because it comes with a bunch of pieces. Like if you get into a weird place and you're trying to, finish a corner, or they give you like these little extra pieces as well. And I like that it has this part so you can line it up, keep the spacing evenly. It works great. I used it on a laundry room floor in a house that we redid, and I'll put a picture of that right there. So the other things you're gonna need is whatever color stain you want. I tried a couple different ones on a scrap piece of wood, and this is the one that I like the best for this look. I'm gonna use just a little paint tray. Now, I'm gonna try 2 different things, so I don't know which one's gonna work best. When I was using this with paint, I put a little bit of paint in my tray, and I used these little foam rollers and this little roller brush. And what I did is I just barely dabbed any on, and then I actually just rolled it off over on some paper towels, because you barely want to have any paint, stain, whatever on your stencil at all. You just want it to be super, super light, because it's gonna bleed through. It's gonna bleed underneath and not be a super crisp line. So I'm gonna try that, and I'm also gonna try just these little foam daubers that I got at Walmart. I was wondering if that might not work a little bit better, and that's what I used when I was doing my test piece earlier, just to see how it worked. But this would work faster. So we'll see how it works. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna try with this little rubber thing first and see how it goes, or this little foam brush. And I put just a little bit on the stain on the plate, and I've got my paper towels ready to dab with. And I want this to look like a runner, like a carpet runner or rug, so that's why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it, which is honestly probably a little bit harder than it has to be. It would be nice if it could just, on the top, I thought about doing that, but this is what I really wanted it to look like. Okay, here we go. So I've lined up my marks, and I'm just barely gonna dab off the extra stain. Let's see, that might be enough, honestly. See how it goes here. Oh, another thing I didn't tell you is to wear gloves. When I open stain, I wear gloves, even when I'm just opening the can to stir it, I wear gloves. Because stain is a bugger. All right, y'all. That is so cute. Oh my goodness, that's cute. Yeah, that's real cute. I like that so far. It's not perfect, it just is what it is. Now, if you were really concerned about smudging, then you would have to let that one dry and make a grid where you could keep on going. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna turn this sucker around and keep on going. So the way this works is, this is how it went, right? It went down. For these two to fit appropriately and leave appropriate spacing, turn it around, and it lines up perfectly with these 2 little guys down here. There we go. So you hold it in place and go again. Now at this point, I am planning on painting the edges white and then finishing it with polyacrylic. The reason for that is that polyurethane yellows so bad. And quickly too. I did this laundry room once where I did black and white stripes on the floor, and I only happened to have polyurethane. Honestly, I hadn't been doing DIY stuff very much, so I didn't know. And it yellowed so quick, pretty soon it looked like I had, you know, yellow and white stripes like a bumblebee on that floor. Okay, it wasn't quite that yellow. I mean, it was close though. So here's what I've got so far. And if I had it to do over, there's already one thing I would have changed. I centered the design from the entire width of the step. Like, you know, I took from that edge to all the way out there edge, and I centered it on that. But I really should have gone from the railing over and centered from there. So, oops, sorry. So I would change that part so far. I have definitely found this roller to be much more effective and quicker. Okay, I'm going to show you how I hold the stencil when I'm rolling over this edge. So I actually just kind of roll the stencil with it as I'm painting. Hope you can see that. Stir it up and roll down. So as you're going along, and because I can't wait for one to dry before I do the next one, or also this would take me 2 weeks to get it done. In between a lot of them, I just take a paper towel and I dab the back here where some extra stain has gotten, so that you don't have a lot of, you know, little oopsies that happen because you've got stain on the back of your stencil. I mean, this is definitely a time-intensive project for sure. But most stencil projects kind of are, because you got to go back and touch them up and do things like that. But then, I mean, this is going to last forever once I get it sealed, so it's worth it. So when you're putting your paint on and you've got a tape line, you want to take your paintbrush or your roller and go out this way to help prevent paint from getting underneath the tape. Because I mean, no matter how good you tape, it just happens. I mean, it's just part of it. So that kind of helps prevent that from happening. And then you can, I mean, you can definitely go like this as well. But sometimes I feel like the tape has lifted a little, and I like to just brush it back down a little bit. And I'm gonna do 2 coats of the primer because this is new wood, and then I'll put my paint on. When I start getting ready to put another coat of paint on after putting my primer, I use the baby wipes again, and I wipe everything down, especially because I'm in a garage where I'm more likely to have stuff blow in when the garage door's open and get dust and stuff on it. If you leave any little particles in your paint job, when somebody comes along and scuffs that, it's gonna take the paint right off. And so you're not gonna have the finish that you want. So just wipe it down and then keep on painting.
So when you're removing tape from your paint projects, you always want to pull it at an angle. Okay, something like that happens where your tape tears off. Then I use a little box cutter. Kind of cut along this seam there. And get it going again.